The crystalline chamber floated in the void of space, orbiting a dying neutron star that pulsed with ancient light. Inside, 43 different species gathered around a massive circular table. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few were nothing more than clouds of energy held together by magnetic fields. They were the Galactic Council, rulers of known space for 10,000 years. Captain Lee Daeho stood at the center of the chamber with his small team. He wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, and his face showed no emotion. Beside him stood Ambassador Park Ji-woo, a woman with sharp eyes and a calm smile. Dr. Kung Mino clutched a datapad containing humanity's greatest achievements. Behind them, 3 other humans waited in silence. The humans had traveled 6 months to reach this place. They brought gifts of music, samples of Earth's art, and scientific discoveries they hoped would impress the Council. Daeho had practiced his speech for weeks. This was humanity's chance to join the galactic community. A massive crystalline being rose from its seat. It stood 3 meters tall, its body made of what looked like purple glass that reflected light in strange patterns. This was Counselor Vrethma, leader of the Vrethian Empire, one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. So these are the humans, Vrethma's voice echoed through the chamber like breaking glass. The ones who crawled out of their gravity while only 50 years ago. Laughter rippled through the chamber. A being made of living metal banged its appendages on the table. Something that looked like a floating jellyfish pulsed with colors that Daeho somehow knew meant amusement. Ji-woo stepped forward. Honorable Council members, we come seeking friendship and knowledge. Earth may be young in the ways of space travel, but we have much to offer. Offer? Another counselor spoke, this one resembling a massive insect with too many eyes. What could primitives possibly offer us? Minho activated his datapad. Holographic displays filled the air, showing Earth cities, its music, mathematical theories, and medical advances. We have developed unique approaches to quantum mechanics, created art forms that express emotion in ways. Emotion, Vrethma interrupted. Yes, we've read your file. Your species feels everything so intensely because you barely live 100 years. You're mayflies compared to us. I have personally witnessed the birth and death of stars. The High Arbiter Quol finally spoke. It appeared as a sphere of golden light that hurt to look at directly. When it communicated, the words appeared directly in everyone's mind. The Council has reviewed Earth's application for membership. We have examined your technology, your culture, and your history. Daeho felt hope rise in his chest. 6 months of travel. Years of preparation before that. Humanity's future hung on the next words. We find you lacking, Quol continued. Your species has a documented history of violence. Wars over resources, territory, even ideas. You've poisoned your own planet multiple times and barely saved yourselves. You have no business among civilized species. The words hit Daeho like physical blows. Ji-woo's calm expression cracked for just a moment. Minho's hand trembled on his datapad. However, Quol went on, we recognize that you have achieved space travel. Therefore, we grant you probationary observation status. What does that mean? Ji-woo asked quietly. Vrethma's laugh sounded like shattering crystal. It means we will watch you. Make sure you don't break anything important. And for this privilege, you will pay tribute. Tribute? Daeho's voice came out harder than he intended. Resources, the insectoid counselor explained. Rare metals from your asteroid belt. Water from your ice moons. Biological samples. The exact amounts will be transmitted to your vessel. Consider it payment for our generous decision not to quarantine your entire solar system. You're demanding we pay you for the privilege of being watched like children? Minho couldn't keep the anger from his voice. Be grateful we're offering you anything, Vrethma said. Most species at your development level don't even get acknowledged. Some we've had to eliminate because they were too dangerous to themselves and others. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Dahio's hands clenched into fists at his sides, but he forced them to relax. Ji-Woo touched his arm gently, a silent reminder to stay calm. Furthermore, Qual added, you will cease all deep space exploration beyond your solar system. Travel to other stars is a privilege reserved for council members. Any human vessel found outside your designated zone will be destroyed without warning. You're putting us in a cage, Ji-Woo said. We're protecting the galaxy from you, Vrethma replied, and protecting you from yourselves. You should thank us. More laughter from the assembled species. A few made sounds that their translators couldn't interpret, but Dahio understood the meaning anyway. Contempt, mockery, dismissal. Do you accept these terms? Qual asked. Dahe looked at his team. Ji-Woo's jaw was tight with suppressed rage. Minho's eyes were wet with tears of frustration. The others looked to him for guidance. They'd come so far with such hope. We accept, Dao said. Each word tasted like poison. Excellent. Your tribute schedule begins immediately. The first shipment is expected within 30 of your days. Failure to comply will result in sanctions. This session is concluded. The golden light that was Qual faded. Other counselors began leaving through various doors and portals. Some teleported away in flashes of light. Within minutes, the chamber was nearly empty. Vrethma remained, towering over the human delegation. A word of advice, Captain. Know your place. The galaxy is vast and old. Your species is neither. Empires older than your entire evolutionary history have risen and fallen under the Council's watch. Don't make us regret even this small mercy. The crystalline being departed, leaving the humans alone in the enormous chamber. Nobody spoke as they walked back to their ship. The Horizon's Pride was a beautiful vessel by Earth's standards, built with humanity's best technology. Now it looked like a child's toy compared to the massive alien ships docked nearby. Inside, the crew waited anxiously. Lieutenant Shin Mai-Rei stood at attention. Captain, how did it go? Daiho looked at his crew. 30 people who had volunteered for this mission. 30 people who believed humanity deserved a place among the stars. We're paying them to insult us, he said quietly. And if we don't, they'll wipe us out. The silence that followed was heavy with anger and shame. Ji-Woo sat at the communication station. I need to contact Earth. The Prime Minister needs to know. Tell them everything, Daho said. Tell them exactly how the Council sees us. Marae's hand rested on her sidearm. Captain, we can't just accept this. We have no choice right now, Daho replied. But his eyes held something cold and hard. Right now, the Horizon's Pride began its long journey home, carrying news that would change everything. In the crew quarters, Minho erased his presentation from his data pad. Nobody would need to see humanity's achievements anymore. The galaxy had made its judgment clear. Daho stood on the bridge, watching the Council station grow smaller in the view screen. He remembered every word, every laugh, every dismissive gesture. Somewhere deep inside, something shifted. Something patient and calculating began to wake. The galaxy had no idea what it had just done. 6 months had passed since the Horizons. Pride returned to Earth. 6 months of paying tribute, while the world watched and seethed with anger. Every week, cargo ships left Earth's orbit carrying rare metals, water ice, and other resources the Council demanded. Every week, humanity grew poorer and more resentful. Prime Minister Yoon Taijin stood in the underground command center beneath Seoul, looking at screens showing Earth's depleted reserves. His hair had gone grayer in these months. The weight of leading humanity through this humiliation showed in every line on his face. How much longer can we sustain this? He asked. Admiral Choi Hiron pulled up charts on the main display. She was a tall woman with cold eyes and steady hands. Before the Council's demands, she had been planning humanity's expansion to the outer planets. Now she planned for something else entirely. At current rates, we have 18 months before our space infrastructure begins to fail, Hiron said. 2 years before we start having shortages planet-side. 3 years before we're back to early 21st century technology levels. They're bleeding us dry, Yoon said. That's the point, Ambassador Park Ji-woo said from her seat at the table. She'd barely slept since returning from the council. They want us weak, dependent, grateful for scraps. Dr. Nam Junho entered the room carrying a secure datapad. He was younger than the others, barely 40, but his eyes held an intensity that made people nervous. He'd been working on classified projects for the last 6 months. Prime Minister, I need to show you something, Junho said. Before he could continue, alarms blared throughout the facility. A communication officer's voice came over the speakers. Incoming transmission from Europa Station. Emergency priority. The main screen flickered to show a panicked face. This is Europa Station. We're under attack. Unknown vessel. Massive energy signatures. They're firing without warning. We need immediate. The transmission cut to static. Then nothing. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then everyone moved at once. Hiron was already pulling up tracking data. Ji-woo was trying to re-establish communication. Yoon gripped the edge of the table so hard, his knuckles turned white. Visual feed from Jupiter orbit satellites, Hiron said. The screen showed a Vrethian warship, its crystalline hull gleaming in Jupiter's reflected light. As they watched, it fired again at the remains of Europa Station. Where 2,000 people had lived and worked, there was now just expanding debris. Get me the council, Yoon said quietly. Now, it took an hour to establish communication. When Councillor Vrethma's image appeared, the being looked bored. Prime Minister, to what do we owe this contact? You destroyed Europa Station, Yoon said. 2,000 people are dead. Ah, yes. That mining facility in our designated territory. Your territory? Europa is in our solar system. Your solar system exists within council space, Vrethma explained, as if talking to a slow child. The treaty clearly states you will cease all activities outside Earth and Luna. Europa Station violated that agreement. The station was there before the treaty. Then you should have evacuated it. This is your failure to comply, not our aggression. Consider it a reminder to follow the rules. This conversation is concluded. The transmission ended. Yoon stared at the blank screen for a long time. Sir? Hiron said carefully. Yoon turned to look at his advisors. At the military officers. At the scientists. Show me everything. All of it. Every weapon, every plan, every option we have. I don't care how insane it sounds. Junho stepped forward again. Sir, for the last 6 months, I've been coordinating with research teams worldwide. We've been preparing for this possibility. Preparing what? Revenge, Junho said simply. He activated his datapad, and the displays filled with weapons schematics. Advanced AI warfare systems. Quantum disruption technology. Biological nanite swarms. Stealth systems that make our ships invisible to their sensors. We've been taking all of humanity's anger and fear and turning it into weapons. Hiron leaned forward, studying the designs. A slow smile spread across her face. It wasn't a nice smile. How soon can we deploy these? Most are ready now, Junho replied. We've been building in secret. Hidden facilities on Mars, on Titan, in asteroid bases they don't know exist. Ji-woo stood up. You're talking about war. About attacking the Galactic Council. They have 43 member species, thousands of worlds, military forces that have existed for millennia. They killed 2,000 of our people, Hiron said coldly, without warning, without mercy, and they don't even care. If we do this, they'll come for Earth, Ji-Woo continued. They'll destroy everything? Maybe, Jun-Ho said. Or maybe we show them that humans aren't prey. We're predators. We've been predators since we climbed down from the trees with sharpened sticks. Yoon looked at each of them, his diplomatic advisor urging caution, his military commander ready for war, his chief scientist offering weapons that might actually work. Admiral Hiron, you've been developing a plan, Yoon said. Show me. Hiron pulled up a star chart. 3 locations glowed red. Operation Savage Garden. We hit them where it hurts. Simultaneously. 3 targets. She pointed to the first. Vrethian Military Depot in the Kronos sector. This is where they stage forces for this entire region. We destroy it, we blind them. Second target. Council Weapons Research Facility at Helios Station. This is where they develop new technology. We take it out, we steal their data, and we show them we can hit anywhere. Third target. The communication relay at the edge of Council space. This is how they coordinate their empire. We take it offline, even for a few hours, and we cause chaos. How many ships would we need? Yoon asked. 12 vessels. 3,600 personnel. We'd be outnumbered at every target, but with the new technology, we'd have surprise and superior weapons. Casualties? Hiron met his eyes. Theirs will be significant. Ours should be minimal if we execute properly. But there are no guarantees in war, sir. Yoon turned to Captain Lee Dae-ho, who had been standing quietly in the corner. Captain, you were there. You heard them mock us. You want to lead this mission? Dae-ho had been waiting for this question. 6 months of swallowing his rage. 6 months of watching Earth bow to those who saw them as less than nothing. 6 months of remembering Vrethmus laugh. Yes, sir. I volunteer. Lieutenant Shin My-Rae stepped forward. I'm with the captain, sir. One by one, others in the room volunteered. The anger in that underground facility was a living thing. Hot and hungry. Yoon looked at Ji-Woo. Ambassador, you still oppose this? She was quiet for a long moment. I oppose what it might cost us, but I won't oppose defending our people's right to exist with dignity. If you do this, do it completely. Don't wound them. Make them bleed. Make them fear. It's the only language they seem to understand. Dr. Jun-Ho, how long until we're ready? Give me 3 months to finish preparations and position our forces. Then we strike during their annual conclave. Every major council leader will be distracted by politics. It's our best window. Yoon sat down heavily. The weight of the decision pressed on him like gravity. He thought about the 2,000 dead on Europa. He thought about his children's future if Earth remained subjugated. He thought about what humanity might become if they chose war. 3 months, he said finally. We prepare for 3 months. And then we show the galaxy what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. Hiron bowed. Yes, sir. We'll make them regret ever hearing the name Earth. As the meeting ended and people dispersed to their tasks, Dae-ho remained behind. He looked at the star charts showing the Council's vast territory. So many worlds. So much power. And Earth was going to punch them in the face. My-Rae joined him. Captain, are you really ready for this? We're talking about killing. A lot of killing. They started it when they destroyed Europa, Dae-ho said. We're just going to finish it. And if we lose, then at least we go down fighting instead of dying on our knees. Somewhere in deep space, the Council continued their business. Completely unaware that humanity was sharpening its teeth. 3 months of preparation had led to this moment. 12 human vessels floated in the darkness between stars, their quantum stealth systems making them invisible to every sensor the Council possessed. Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Pride, now retrofitted as a warship. Around him, his crew worked in tense silence. "All teams report ready, Captain," Lieutenant Shin Mai-rei said from the tactical station. Her voice was steady, professional. Only Daeho could see the slight tremor in her hands. "Time to target intercept?" 20 minutes. Strike teams Beta and Gamma confirmed they're in position at their targets. Daeho pulled up the communications channel, linking all 3 strike forces. Commander Bei Sang-ho's face appeared on one screen, Dr. Han Jisu's on another. They commanded the other 2 groups, and each face showed the same cold determination. "Final weapons check," Daeho ordered. Throughout the fleet, soldiers and technicians made their preparations. In the cargo bay, Sergeant Oh Dong-yoon armed the nanite deployment systems. The tiny machines, each smaller than a cell, would consume metal and circuitry like a virus. They were just one of humanity's new toys. "Sir," Mai-rei said quietly, "once we do this, there's no going back." "There was no going back the moment they killed our people on Europa," Daeho replied. "All teams, begin final approach." The Horizon's Pride moved forward, accompanied by 3 other vessels. Their target, the Vrethian military depot in the Kronos sector, grew larger on the view screens. It was massive, a structure the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons and docking bays for hundreds of ships. "Enemy patrol detected," the sensor officer called out. 2 Vrethian destroyers on standard route. "Ignore them. They can't see us." The human ships slipped past the patrol like ghosts. The Vrethian vessels continued their route, completely unaware that death was floating just a few kilometers away. "We're in range," Mai-rei reported. "All weapon systems armed and ready." Daeho took a breath. Somewhere, on the other side of the galaxy, Songho and Jisu were hearing the same words. 3 targets. 1 moment. Everything would change in the next few minutes. "All teams," Daeho said into the communication system. "Remember Europa. Remember every insult. Remember what they think of us." He paused. "Show them what humans really are. Execute Operation Savage Garden, now." The Horizon's Pride dropped its stealth field and opened fire. Quantum disruption torpedoes streaked across space, each one punching holes in reality itself. Where they hit the depot's shields, matter simply ceased to exist. Behind the torpedoes came missiles carrying nanite payloads. Alarms screamed through the Vrethian depot. Shields that had protected against weapons for 10,000 years failed against technology they had never imagined. The first nanite missile broke through and splashed against the hull. Within seconds, the microscopic machines began eating through the metal. Inside the depot, Vrethian soldiers scrambled to battle stations. Their commander, a crystalline being named Vexter, watched in horror as entire sections of the hull dissolved like sugar in water. "What kind of weapon is this?" Someone shouted. "Get troops to the breach points. Seal the..." But the nanites spread faster than they could seal anything. Bulkheads crumbled. Atmosphere vented into space. The depot that had stood for 300 years was being devoured alive. Daeho watched the destruction on his screens. Deploy boarding teams. Dropships launched from the human vessels, each carrying soldiers in advanced combat armor. They didn't need to dock. The nanites had created dozens of holes in the depot's hull. The soldiers simply flew inside. What followed was brutal and efficient. Human soldiers moved through the corridors of the dying station with weapons that the Vrethians had never seen. Plasma rifles that could cut through their crystalline bodies. Sonic grenades that shattered them like glass. devices that disabled their technology. Vexter tried to organize a defense, but his troops were used to fighting from behind shields and at long range. The humans fought differently. They fought like animals, hitting close, using the debris and smoke as cover. Attacking from unexpected angles. In one corridor, Deho led a team personally. A Vrethian warrior, 3 meters tall and armed with an energy blade, charged at them. Instead of retreating, Deho ran forward. He slid under the blade, came up inside the alien's guard, and fired his plasma rifle directly into its crystalline core. The Vrethian exploded into fragments. "Bridge is ahead," Myray said, checking her scanner. "Heavy resistance. Dong-Yun, you're up." The demolitions expert grinned and placed charges on the bulkhead. Fire in the hole. The explosion blew the bridge door inward. Human soldiers poured through the smoke. The fight was over in 30 seconds. Vexter, wounded and defeated, stared at Deho with something like disbelief. "You're primitives," the alien gasped. "How did you adapt?" Deho said coldly. "It's what humans do best." He raised his weapon. "This is for Europa." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. At Helios Station, Commander Bei Sung-ho's forces deployed the quantum bombs. When they detonated, sections of the research facility simply vanished, phased out of normal space. Scientists and guards alike disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only empty corridors and half-completed experiments. Sung-ho walked through the facility, collecting data cores. Every piece of Council technology, every research note, every secret weapon design. It was all being copied to human databases. "Sir, we found something," one of his soldiers called. They stood before a massive vault door. "Blow it." Inside the vault, they found prototype weapons and technologies that the Council had deemed too dangerous to deploy. Sung-ho smiled. "Too dangerous for them. Just right for us. Take everything." At the third target, the communication relay station, Dr. Han Jisu's bioweapons proved their worth. Instead of killing the defenders, the nanite-based agents simply put them to sleep. The entire station's crew collapsed within minutes, completely unharmed but unconscious. "Why aren't we killing them?" a soldier asked Jisu. "Because this is a message," she replied. "We're showing them we could have killed everyone, but chose not to. It'll scare them more than death. They'll wonder what else we can do." While the crew slept, Myray led her fighter squadron in dismantling the relay's satellite network. Each satellite exploded in silent blooms of light. The communication hub that had coordinated Council activity for this entire sector went dark. 2 hours after the operation began, it was over. 3 Council facilities destroyed or captured. Thousands of alien soldiers dead or captured. Massive amounts of intelligence and technology seized. And most importantly, 0 human casualties. The 12 human ships regrouped at a predetermined location, their cargo bays full of prisoners and stolen data. Daiho stood on his bridge, looking at the reports from all 3 teams. "Send the message," he ordered. "Myray broadcast on all Council frequencies." It was simple and direct. "This is Captain Lei Daiho of Earth. We have struck 3 of your facilities simultaneously. We took what we wanted. We killed who we wanted. We left survivors so they could tell you this story." He paused. "You destroyed our station without warning. You demanded tribute. You called us primitives. But primitives don't build weapons like these. Primitives don't execute military operations like this. Consider this your warning. Leave Earth alone, or we'll show you what real savagery looks like. We're done being prey. We're done being victims. From this moment forward, you'll treat us as equals, or you'll treat us as enemies. The choice is yours." The transmission ended. The human fleet disappeared back into quantum stealth, vanishing from Council sensors as if they had never existed. In the ruins of the Vrethian depot, surviving soldiers pulled wounded from the debris. They looked at the damage with new eyes. The impossible had happened. The primitives had teeth. Word spread through Council space at the speed of light. 3 simultaneous attacks. Overwhelming victory. A species they dismissed as barely evolved had struck them like a force of nature. In the Council chambers, emergency sessions were called. Voices were raised. Accusations flew. Fear crept in where before there had only been arrogance. And on Earth, humanity watched the broadcasts from captured Council communications. They saw the panic. They saw the fear. For the first time since the Europa massacre, people smiled. They weren't victims anymore. They were warriors. And the galaxy was starting to understand what that meant. The crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council had never seen such chaos. Counselors from 43 species shouted at each other in dozens of languages. Holographic displays showed the smoking ruins of 3 facilities. The mood was equal parts rage and fear. High Arbiter Quol materialized at the center of the chamber, its golden light pulsing with agitation. The noise died down slowly. Order, Quol's voice echoed in every mind. We will have order. Counselor Vrethma stood, its crystalline body reflecting the chamber's lights like a prism of fury. Order? The humans have attacked us. 3 military targets struck simultaneously. Thousands dead. Facilities destroyed. And you speak of order? They demonstrated capabilities we didn't know they possessed, said Counselor Dexal, the insectoid military commander. Its many eyes blinked independently as it studied the tactical reports. Stealth technology beyond our sensors. Weapons that phase matter out of existence. Biological agents that can disable entire stations. This is not the work of primitives. Then how? Demanded another counselor, a being of living flame. 6 months ago, they could barely navigate their own solar system. Now they strike us with impunity? In a hidden observation room overlooking the chamber, Director Kim Sora watched the proceedings with satisfaction. She was Earth's intelligence chief, and nobody knew she was here. Nobody knew that human operatives had been infiltrating Council space for months, planting listening devices, bribing minor officials, learning every secret they could find on Earth. The message from the Council session was being broadcast to the command center. Prime Minister Yoon Taijin watched with Admiral Choi Hyren and Ambassador Park Ji-woo. They're panicking, Hyren observed with a cold smile. Good. They'll retaliate, Ji-woo warned. This isn't over. It's just beginning. As if on cue, Quol addressed the Council. We must respond with overwhelming force. The humans must be taught that such aggression cannot stand. I propose immediate military action, Vrethma said. We assemble a fleet and reduce Earth to ash. We make an example that will echo through the galaxy for 10,000 years. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. But one voice spoke up in dissent. That would be a mistake. Everyone turned to look at Ambassador Lyranth, representative of the peaceful Lyrian species. She was smaller than most counselors, with soft features and large eyes that held ancient wisdom. A mistake? Vrethma's voice was sharp. They attacked us. After you destroyed their station without warning, Lyranth replied calmly. After you demanded tribute from them. After you caged them in their own solar system. Did you expect them to simply accept subjugation? We were protecting the galaxy from them. No, you were asserting dominance over a species you perceived as weak. Lyranth pulled up holographic data. I've studied human history. They've survived ice ages, plagues, wars that nearly destroyed them, and environmental collapse. They're survivors. And survivors, when cornered, become dangerous. Then we eliminate the danger, Vexal said. Can you? Lyranth asked. Look at these attacks. Perfect synchronization across light years of space. 0 casualties on their side. They captured our technology and prisoners. They could have killed everyone but chose not to at one facility. This was a demonstration. They're showing us they're capable of worse. We have 43 member species, Rithna argued. Thousands of worlds. Military forces that have existed for millennia. They have one planet. And they just hurt us badly with 12 ships, Lyranth countered. Imagine what they could do with more time to prepare. With more weapons. With nothing left to lose. The chamber fell silent as this truth sank in. Quoll pulsed brighter. Nevertheless, we cannot allow this challenge to go unanswered. I call for a vote. All in favor of military action against Earth? Hands, claws, tentacles, and various appendages rose throughout the chamber. The vote was nearly unanimous. Only Lyranth and a handful of others abstained. It is decided, Quoll announced. Fleet Commander Thexal, you will assemble a force and subjugate the human homeworld. Use whatever force is necessary. Back on Earth, the command center erupted in activity. They'd expected this response. Hiron had already prepared for it. How long until their fleet can reach us? Yoon asked. 2 weeks, Hiron replied. They'll need time to assemble forces from across their territory. That gives us time to prepare our defenses. Can we win? Yoon's voice was quiet. Earth's solar system. We've been planning for this since Operation Savage Garden launched. Protocol Endgame is ready. Dr. Nam Junho entered the room, looking exhausted but triumphant. Prime Minister, I need to show you something. It's ready. They moved to a secure lab deep underground. Inside a containment field floated a small device, barely larger than a basketball. It didn't look like much, but the energy readings around it made the air shimmer. What is it? Yoon asked. We call it the Stellar Disruptor, Junho explained. It can destabilize a star's fusion reaction, cause it to go supernova prematurely. The room went silent. Ji Woo spoke first, her voice shaking. You built a weapon that can destroy entire solar systems? We built a deterrent, Junho corrected. We've already positioned one near the Vrethian homeworld of New Vrethia. One command from Earth, and their sun becomes a bomb. We've sent them the specifications through encrypted channels. They know what we can do. That's insane, Ji Woo said. That's genocide. That's survival, Hiron countered. They were willing to destroy Earth. We're just making sure they understand the cost. A transmission came through. It was from Lyranth, sent on a covert channel that Sora's intelligence network had established. Prime Minister Yoon, the Lyrian's image said, I'm contacting you against Council orders. The fleet is being assembled. 200 ships will arrive in your system in 14 days. But there's something you should know. Not all Council species support this action. Some of us believe you have a right to defend yourselves. Some of us are tired of the Council's arrogance. Why are you telling us this? Yoon asked. Because I believe what's happening here is bigger than one conflict. The Council has ruled through fear and overwhelming power for too long. Maybe it's time for change. Maybe humanity can be the catalyst for that change. But you need to survive first. The transmission ended. Yoon looked at his advisors. They're sending 200 ships to kill us, he said. Do we have a chance? We have more than a chance, Hiron replied. We have a plan, superior tactics, and weapons they've never seen. Plus, we're fighting for our home. They're fighting to maintain pride. And we have one more advantage, Junho added. They still think we're primitives. They're expecting us to panic. They're expecting us to beg. Instead, we're going to show them what happens when you back a predator into a corner. Captain Lee Daeho walked in, his uniform still showing signs of the recent battle. Sir, the fleet is ready. Every ship is armed and positioned. The crews are ready to fight. How are they? Yoon asked. Angry, determined, ready to make the council regret ever hearing about Earth. Yoon stood and addressed everyone in the room. 2 weeks from now, the biggest fleet in galactic history will arrive at our doorstep. They expect us to surrender or die. But we're going to give them a third option. We're going to hurt them so badly that they'll be the ones begging for peace. He turned to Hiren. Admiral, execute Protocol Endgame. Prepare every defense. Activate every weapon. Position every asset. Yes, sir. Dr. Junho, keep that Starkiller ready. If they refuse to back down, we'll show them we mean business. Understood. Captain Deho, you and Lieutenant Myray will command our frontline forces. Show them what human warriors can do. With pleasure, sir. As they dispersed to their tasks, Ji Woo remained behind with Yoon. Are we doing the right thing? She asked quietly. This could end with millions dead on both sides. They made this choice when they destroyed Europa, Yoon replied. When they tried to make us slaves. We're just finishing what they started. And if we lose? Then at least humanity dies standing up instead of kneeling down. In orbit above Earth, weapons platforms activated. In asteroid belts, hidden bases came online. On Mars and Titan and a dozen moons, defenses prepared for war. Humanity had 2 weeks to turn its solar system into a fortress. 2 weeks to prepare for the fight of its existence. And across the galaxy, the Council fleet assembled. 200 warships, each one more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. They didn't know about the traps waiting for them. They didn't know about the weapons. They didn't know that they were about to learn a very painful lesson about underestimating humans. A Council fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system like a storm of metal and fury. 200 warships, representing the military might of 43 species, each vessel bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Fleet Commander Vexal stood on the bridge of the flagship, its insectoid eyes surveying the tactical displays with satisfaction. Status report, Vexal commanded. All vessels accounted for, an officer replied. No signs of human fleet activity. Sensors detect only their primitive orbital stations. They're hiding, another officer suggested, cowering on their homeworld. Vexal's mandibles clicked in what might have been a laugh. Perhaps they finally realized the futility of resistance. Scan the system. Find their ships. What the sensors showed made Vexal pause. The asteroid belt was unusually dense. There were metallic signatures scattered throughout the system, but they appeared to be debris, not active vessels. Earth itself sat quiet and seemingly defenseless. Too quiet, Vexal muttered. Advance carefully. Formation Delta. The fleet moved forward, a massive wall of destruction heading toward the inner system. They passed the orbit of Neptune. Then Uranus. Nothing happened. The human homeworld sat waiting like a lamb for slaughter. Then the asteroids moved. What Vexal had dismissed as natural space debris suddenly fired thrusters. Hundreds of asteroids, each hollowed out and filled with weapons, activated simultaneously. They'd been there all along, camouflaged and patient, waiting for the fleet to get close. Evasive action, Vexal shouted, but momentum is a cruel master in space. The massive Council ships couldn't maneuver quickly enough. The weaponized asteroids slammed into the fleet's outer ships. Some exploded on impact, releasing clouds of nanites that immediately began eating through shields and hulls. Others fired railguns at point-blank range, their kinetic projectiles punching through armor like paper. 5 Council ships were destroyed in the first 30 seconds. Return fire. Destroy those asteroids. But as soon as the fleet began targeting the asteroids, Earth's actual defensive fleet appeared. 50 human warships dropped their stealth fields and opened fire from multiple directions at once. They'd been there the entire time, invisible, waiting. Captain Lee Deo stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Pride, watching the chaos unfold exactly as Admiral Hiron had planned. All ships, execute attack pattern Omega. Hit them hard and fade back. Don't let them focus fire. The human ships darted in and out of the Council formation like wolves attacking a herd. Their quantum weapons punched holes in reality wherever they hit. Their plasma missiles burned through shields. Their M torpedoes disabled entire systems. Lieutenant Shin Mirai led her fighter squadron through the massive Council ships, targeting their engine sections and communication arrays. Her wingmen followed her lead, precise and deadly. They flew like demons, using the debris field and explosions as cover. Target their flagship, Deho ordered. Let's cut off the head. 3 human destroyers focused their fire on Dexal's command ship. The shields held, but just barely. Inside the Council flagship, alarms screamed and crew members scrambled to maintain systems. How is this possible? An officer shouted at Dexal. We outnumber them 4 to 1. They're using guerrilla tactics, Dexal realized. They're not trying to win by force. They're trying to make us bleed. The commander's tactical mind finally understood what was happening. Pull back. Reform at... An explosion rocked the ship. One of Mirai's squadron had managed to get a missile through the shields. The damage wasn't critical, but it was humiliating. At that moment, every screen in the Council fleet simultaneously displayed the same image. Prime Minister Yoon Taijin appeared, his face calm, but his eyes cold as space itself. Fleet Commander Dexal, Yoon said. I'm sure you're wondering how this is going. Let me clarify. You came to our home expecting an easy victory. You expected us to be defenseless. You were wrong. On the tactical displays, a new signature appeared. Massive energy readings building up near the orbit of Jupiter. What is that? Dexal demanded. That, Yoon continued, is a demonstration. We call it the Stellar Disruptor. Watch carefully. A beam of impossible energy lanced out from the human weapon platform, crossing millions of kilometers in seconds. It struck Jupiter's moon, Io, a volcanic moon nobody cared about. The moon's core destabilized instantly. Within seconds, the entire celestial body began tearing itself apart. The Council fleet watched in horror as a moon was destroyed not by bombardment, but by having its very atomic structure unraveled. Where Io had been, there was now only an expanding cloud of superhot plasma. We have positioned one of these weapons in orbit around New Vrethia, Yoon said. Your homeworld, Commander. One command from me, and we don't just destroy your planet. We destroy your sun. Every living thing in your system dies in nuclear fire. The transmission showed a split screen. On one side, Yoon. On the other, live footage from New Vrethia, showing the human weapon platform in orbit above the Vrethian homeworld, clearly visible and very much real. Dexal's blood ran cold. On the Council flagship's communications, encrypted messages were flooding in from New Vrethia. Panic. Evacuation proposals. Please to retreat. You wouldn't dare, Dexal said, though the words sounded hollow even to the commander's own hearing. You destroyed Europa Station without warning, Yoon replied. You killed 2,000 of our people. You tried to make us slaves. And now you come to destroy our world. Give me one reason why we wouldn't dare. In the command center on Earth, Admiral Hiron monitored the battle. Human losses were minimal. Council losses were mounting. The plan was working perfectly. Their formation is breaking down, she reported to Yoon. They're trying to pull back and regroup. Don't let them, Yoon ordered. Press the attack. Deho received the command and smiled without humor. All ships pursue. Commander Bay, take your wing and hit their rear guard. Dr. Han, deploy the bioagents on any ship that loses shields. I want their crews sleeping, not dead. More prisoners mean more leverage. The battle that was supposed to be a one-sided massacre had turned into a nightmare for the Council fleet. 30 ships destroyed or disabled. Hundreds more damaged. And they hadn't even reached Earth's orbit yet. Counselor Vrethma's voice came over the communication channels, overriding Vexal's command. Fleet Commander, this is Counselor Vrethma. I order you to... Vrethma, Yoon interrupted, his voice cutting through the transmission like a knife. Your species started this war. You laughed at us. You called us primitives. You killed our people. And now your homeworld sits under our weapon. Do you feel fear? Do you finally understand what you've done? There was silence. For the first time in the Council's 10,000-year history, they were truly afraid. Ambassador Lerant's voice came through on a priority channel. Prime Minister Yoon, this is Ambassador Leranth. I'm speaking for a coalition of council members who want this war to end. We propose an immediate ceasefire and negotiations. Your terms? Yoon asked. Complete cessation of hostilities. Full recognition of Earth's sovereignty. No more tribute. And a seat on the council with full voting rights. And reparations for Europa? Agreed. Plus transfer of technology and full access to council trade networks. Yoon looked around the command center. At Hyerin, who nodded. At Ji-woo, who looked relieved. At the tactical displays showing they were winning, but knowing the victory could still turn costly. Fleet Commander Vexal, Yoon said. You have 60 seconds to order a full retreat. If even one more shot is fired at our forces, we activate the Stellar Disruptor. New Vrithia and everyone on it dies. Choose. On the Council flagship, Vex all looked at the displays. At the destroyed ships. At the image of the weapon hovering over New Vrithia. At the tactical situation that had somehow turned completely against them. All ships, Vexal said quietly. Cease fire. Retreat to minimum safe distance. Do not engage human forces. The Council fleet began pulling back, damaged and defeated. Human ships held their positions, but didn't pursue. The battle was over. 6 months later, Captain Lee Dae-ho stood in the crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council. But this time, he wasn't there as a supplicant. He was there as Earth's military representative. Beside him sat Ambassador Park Ji-woo, now a full council member with voting rights. The chamber had changed. Some species that had supported the war were no longer present, removed from power by their own people. New faces sat at the table, and one seat, prominently placed, bore Earth's symbol. High Arbiter Quol addressed the assembly. We begin today's session by acknowledging our newest full member, Earth. The human species has proven itself worthy of a place among us, not just through martial prowess, but through restraint. They could have destroyed us, but chose mercy. Counselor Vrethma was not present. The Vrethian representative was now a younger being named Korith, who had been part of the peace faction. The council formally apologizes for the destruction of Europa Station, Korith said. Reparations have been transferred to Earth's accounts, and we acknowledge that the previous council leadership acted with arrogance and cruelty. Ji-woo stood to address the council. Earth accepts the apology and the reparations. But more importantly, we propose changes to how the council operates. No species should be treated as inferior because they're young or developing. No species should be subjugated or caged. The galaxy is big enough for all of us. Here, said Leranth, who had become one of Earth's strongest allies. After the session, Dae-ho walked through the station with Lieutenant Mai-Ray. They looked out at the stars, at the ships from dozens of species docking and departing. Was it worth it? Myray asked. All the fighting? All the deaths? We're free, Dao replied. Earth stands as an equal. Our children will grow up in a galaxy that respects them. Yes, it was worth it. What happens now? Now we rebuild. We trade. We learn from other species and teach them what we know. And we make sure nobody ever mistakes our patience for weakness again. On Earth, Prime Minister Yoon addressed the planet in a global broadcast. The war is over. We have secured our place among the stars. Not through submission, but through strength. Not through begging, but through standing firm. The galaxy tried to make us victims. We showed them we are survivors. And survivors become something the universe has to respect. Admiral Hiron oversaw the dismantling of some of the more extreme weapons. The stellar disruptors were decommissioned, their threat no longer needed. But the technology remained in human databases. A reminder. A warning. Dr. Nam Juno shifted his focus from weapons to peaceful applications. The quantum technology that had destroyed ships now powered faster-than-light communication. The nanites that had eaten through hulls now repaired infrastructure. War technology became peace technology. And across the galaxy, other young species watched what had happened. They saw that the Council could be challenged. They saw that dignity could be defended. They saw that the old order could change. Earth had done more than win a war. It had shattered 10,000 years of galactic stagnation. It had proven that new voices deserved to be heard. And it had shown the universe something important. Humans were savage when they needed to be, but civilized when they chose to be. The galaxy would never be the same. And humanity would make sure it changed for the better. Years later, when asked about those dark months, Deho would always say the same thing. We didn't start the war, but we made damn sure we finished it. And we did it our way. Earth's savage retaliation had indeed stunned the Galactic Council. But more than that, it had earned humanity something more valuable than membership or technology. It had earned them respect. And in a galaxy that ran on power and prestige, respect was everything.